These are arguably the two most underrated cube releases that have come out recently, yet they are both actually very good. So what makes these cubes special? Why is no one talking about them? And are they actually main worthy? Well, this is the HaiTun Waverider and this is the MSCube MS3R. These were sent to me by speedcubeshop.com and you can click the links in the description to find out more. But first, let's take a look at the Waverider. This cube is HaiTun's first release and it's received pretty mixed reviews. Now if we take off the lid, the first thing we get is a card. After that we have the cube, a stand and some accessories. Taking out the accessories first, and inside we have a bag and a cloth. This looks pretty nice, just plain with the simple logo. I quite like it. And the cloth, not sure why this is needed, but sure. Also in the accessories we have an adjustment tool, which I haven't seen anything like this before. And then on top of that we have an instruction manual on how to solve the cube. Now moving over to the cube now, it comes with a cube stand, which is quite nice, although I'll probably never use it. And then taking off the plastic, let's go into first turns. Ooh. It's a bit uncontrollable out of the box, but I think there's a lot of potential here. The corner cutting is really good, but I feel like this comes with some issues with controllability. If we now take a look under the center cap, this is going to be hard to see because it's all white, but there are two rings with two sets of numbers and some holes where I assume that tensioning system piece goes. In terms of the magnets now, and another thing I'm really impressed to see is adjustable magnets. Even some of the top flagships from the best companies, mainly looking at Moyu, still don't have this, which makes it very impressive. So I feel like this cube is going to need quite a bit of setup to get it perfect, but I can definitely see that there's a lot of potential. For now though, I'm going to move over to unboxing the MS3R. Now MSCube has released quite a few puzzles at this point, but just a couple of years ago they were very new to the 3x3 scene, which means that I am expecting some good things to come from this cube. Ooh, this is an interesting design. You can't really see that much. Getting the cube out, and underneath it there is an instruction manual and some tensioning instructions, I think. But how do I open this? Like that. Okay, now to the actual cube, and once again, what is this stand? I don't think anyone is going to be displaying their cube like this. It just doesn't make any sense, but that doesn't really matter. Let's move on to the actual turning. Ooh, but before that, I like the UV coating. This feels really nice. The feeling sort of reminds me of like an old Diantengium, just without the speed. It's very slow, a little bit too controllable, too blocky, but it sounds nice and it feels nice. I mean, with some setup, it could be very good, but let's see what setup options they actually give you. And okay, this is weird. It feels annoying to me that all companies are putting different systems in, then you have to learn a bunch of different ways to adjust your cube. But considering there isn't a tool in the box, I'm assuming you just use your fingers to turn this blue bit, and there looks to be one of 5 different options, which isn't too bad, I guess. Now if we look at the magnets, and they are not adjustable. This is a bit of a shame, but there are a lot of more expensive cubes that also don't have adjustable magnets, so I guess this isn't a deal breaker. However, one thing I really do like is the blue internals. They look really nice. So with both of these unboxed, I now want to set them up because they aren't quite as good as I would like them to be right now. And first, starting with the Waverider, I added some nebula to the cube in order to slow it down because of how fast and uncontrollable it came out of the box. For the tensions, I didn't change anything because I like the level of corner cutting, and thanks to the lube, there is no longer a need to increase controllability through actual tension changes. But for the magnets, I prefer my cubes being stronger, so I increased them by 3 clicks. This is slightly annoying because you do have to do it twice on 12 edges, but it is better than not having the option. Moving on now to the MS3R, and this cube is the complete opposite because I feel like it needs to be faster and looser to perform well. So for this, I added a little bit of stardust to increase the speed, and I also made the tension slightly looser to accommodate for more corner cutting. Sadly though, this cube does not have any adjustable magnets, so they have to stay on the strength that they come on. But now let's move on to some solves, and I can give my final thoughts. That begins with the Waverider. Whilst this cube is the first release from HaiTun, I am actually really impressed because of how much advanced hardware they have managed to pack into the cube, considering there are a lot of established brands that have nowhere near this level in much more expensive products. In terms of the turning, I like how flexible it is, which allows for very good corner cutting and very few mistakes. However, I would say that the plastic quality feels incredibly cheap, which is not at all good. This is probably the one thing that I would like HaiTun to improve in the future, as it will allow their 3x3s to be recognised more widely by cubers as premium products, while still having very good prices. Speaking of which, you can get both of these cubes, plus the lubes I used to set them up, by going over to speedcubeshop.com, where you can use the discount code UKCuber for 5% off any order. Even if you choose not to use my code, make sure to use another creator's, as it really helps us out. So click one of the links in the description to buy a range of cubes at the best prices. But back to it, another good thing about this cube is that it offers adjustable magnets, and that is something that is an incredible feature in allowing everyone to have the feeling that is right for them. Furthermore, you will notice that this cube has magnets in some pretty odd places, but this actually helps in making sure the layers stay aligned, and also the cube has a higher stability during a solve. In terms of why no one is talking about these cubes, I think that it mainly comes down to the fact that they come from smaller brands, which means that not as many cubers will know of them compared to something like the GAN 14. Therefore, things like YouTube videos will not perform as well on these releases, despite the 3x3s actually being incredible value for money. But if we now move over to the MS3R, and I would say this cube has a much more unique feeling. Whilst I did compare it to the Tengium version 1 earlier, and I still think that it has a similar style, this cube does provide a lot more stability and controllability during the faster parts of a solve. This also comes with a slower feeling, which I'm not a massive fan of, but just by adding a faster lube, this issue can mainly be fixed. Personally, I also like how airy this cube feels and how it glides through most of the turns that you would normally come across. Furthermore, I really like the UV coating on the MS3R, as it allows for a lot better grip when solving, and this is something that's usually a lot more exclusive to the higher range 3x3s. Although one thing I'm not overly keen on is the tensioning system, as it seems slightly too complex, where they could have just done something more similar to the Tornado, which would have been a whole lot better. Whether I'll actually main these two cubes is an interesting subject, because I feel with the range of 3x3s I have, it's hard to choose either of these over something like the GAN 13 or WRM version 10. However, there is definitely a lot of potential, and I hope that these two companies work on the flaws of these releases for their next ones. If you have tried either of these two cubes, let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.